Generation Kill, American soldiers raised on video games and war movies. Insult or reality? Let's go.
It's the ultimate rush, because you know you're going into the fight to begin with, and then you got a good song playing in the background, and that gets you real fired up.
War itself is heavy metal, yeah.
This is the first war that's kind of been driven by poetry, this urban poetry of rap and rock and roll.
I'm going to politely disagree and keep my mouth shut here. It's not the first war that's been motivated by other things, whether it be music, newspapers, magazines, athletes going off to war during World War II. This is very common. It happens to be this is a convenient crutch to blame rap, rock music, video games, but the reality is still that war has been made since the inception of something of heroes people look up to in society. So this is nothing new.
Over 2 decades, acclaimed Australian war artist George Gittos has seen plenty of conflict, from Nicaragua to Somalia.
You kind of ask, why do I need to come here?
But during an 18-month stint on the front line in Iraq,
these are not like the soldiers who've come back from any other war. When they first came, they expected it to be like Rambo or like a video game or like Black Hawk Down. But when they actually got there, it didn't take long before they found it was a completely earthy, gritty.
They didn't expect that. These guys have been fighting for 2 decades in the Middle East. We've got a generation of unprecedented warriors, period. They've got more combat tours, more actual combat than any other generation. We're going to look back on this and say, these guys really showed their mettle in the desert. Now, if you disagree with the war, that's one thing. You can't disagree with the troops. They went there because they were told to.
The culture George Gittos captured on videotape was also observed by others on the front line. Rolling Stone magazine contributor Evan Wright was embedded with the Marines' 1st Reconnaissance Battalion on the road to Baghdad. His new book about their ultra-violent culture is called Generation Kill.
Yeah, it's ultra-violent culture. That's the job, Einstein. I mean, these guys are so offensive. Why would you let any reporter, any author with troops anymore? Have you ever seen, put this in the comments, recently, a book that's positive about the military, that shows the human side, that shows what the sacrifice? All I see is perpetual cut downs, slights, and making these intellectual elites appear better on television. It really pisses me off.
They were raised by television, Hollywood movies, video games, internet porn. I mean, that stuff was available to them from a very young age, and that's sort of how they were acculturated into society.
All right, who is this jackass? Enculturated into society. Every generation has had something to look to. Happens to be the internet. Was it a magazine? Was it a book before the internet? Was it something that depicted war as a virtue? Of course, otherwise people wouldn't fight these wars for these type of people.
Documentary offer unvarnished insights into the complex meeting of youth culture and the American military machine. It's war fought by the first PlayStation generation. Here, music matters, and Soundtrack to War homes in on its use in combat.
Is that a compliment, the first PlayStation generation? Hell no, it's not. I mean, again, I'm going to harp on this. 2 decades, these guys have been fighting in the Middle East. Untold amount of combat deployments, suffering. I don't think you can take away with some kind of half-assed method of cutting down our troops. They were sent there because of guys like this, because of these kind of idiots.
This is the one we listen to the most. This is the one we try when we're killing the enemy, going through war, coming up here into Iraq, coming up into Baghdad. Johnny Poole, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor is definitely the song. That's the song we listen to. That was the motto for our tank. Let the bodies hit the floor, because it was fitting for the job we were doing.
Gittos has spent the last few weeks in New York. Some of his material is featured prominently in Michael Moore's controversial film Fahrenheit 9/11, and Soundtrack to War is about to have a month of screenings on American music channels, including MTV.
I've worked in American since.
Now, you're a tanker, right? What is your job? It's not to hand out water. It's not to go to a hippie rally or to an LGBTQRS rally. Your job is to take the tank and blow things up, right? That's the job. I don't know what these guys think tankers do, but in some disco fantasy land, they think they don't kill people. That's the job.
I was 18, and I haven't seen the country as polarised as it is now since the time of the Vietnam War. The impact that I hope the film has is that America will actually appreciate and understand the soldiers that it sent to Iraq. And there isn't any understanding. In fact, most people here seem to be oblivious to what they're going through, and I think that'll help them.
Why is it polarized? Answer that question. Put that in the comments. Well, these type of programs that degrade the soldiers, that make them look like they're total a-holes and buffoons, that polarizes it, right? That doesn't help. The baby killer concept of Vietnam, that doesn't help. You're sending guys who are scared to death over to fight on behalf of the politicians in the U.S. government. If you don't like the policy, don't like the politics, vote those people out. Do not get mad at the people you send to do your job.
And in our communication system, there's a place where it's possible to hook up a CD player. So if you want to check it out. From right here, I control the music, and it works in all 4 helmets. So when we're cruising down the road, I'm listening to Tupac.
So these guys were listening to that before, right? So they're trying to have some semblance of reasonableness while they're at home, trying to have some normalcy. I don't think this is an odd thing to make a program about as you try to make this guy look like a idiot on television.
Involved, particularly the rappers, in a very tough lifestyle, and they've made the best soldiers because they've been doing it on the streets in America. Like urban America is a kind of a war zone.
There's not a huge difference.
Is that guy living on a different effing planet? Urban America is not a war zone. Is there crime? Of course. Is it a war zone? I don't know what disco fantasy land or what kind of pot this guy's smoking, but I don't agree. What do you guys think? Put that in the comments.
Between writing about South Central Los Angeles and the gang wars down there, and writing about Saddam City in Baghdad.
His book portrays a fighting force drawn largely from broken homes, raised in a cynical digital age.
The majority of these guys were raised by either single-parent homes or in homes where both parents worked. So in effect, they didn't really have a lot of parenting.
Oh, Captain Obvious. Well, most people are raised by single-parent homes or 2 people working in the family, whether you're poor or rich. That is the majority of people raised in the United States. It's not just these people. So these people as in people fighting for us, right? So he's just mixing and matching whatever suits his goal.
In Vietnam, the whole story is of a generation of Americans that were innocent, and they lost that innocence in the jungles of Southeast Asia. And in this case, these guys were raised on violent video games, movies, and a presidential sex scandal involving President Clinton. So these guys, I always tell people, were sort of pre-jaded.
These soldiers, argues,
if you go to war and the enemy is not really your enemy, you're going to have a hard time. So pre-jaded, whatever you want to call it, if they send you to the Middle East, to wherever, you have to look at these people that you're fighting as the enemy. So if you're not pre-jaded, it's not going to be much of a war, right?
Right, are unlike those who came before them.
It is now. Pay attention.
One thing about them is they killed very well in Iraq.
We keep it real in the battlefield. Yeah, my main mo and I real go kill.
Ultimately, both observers offer a portrait of a complex, street-smart and creative generation of fighters who find the reality of war far removed from the screen battles of their childhood.
Everybody finds war different than playtime, right? Whether you're playing a video game or you're playing war as a kid in the woods, right? It's different. No one's going to say that, oh, yeah, I had a video game reminding me of reality, or I played airsoft reminding me of reality. So there is no reality but for war that's going to get you there, right?
In the movie, bang, you're dead, you fall down. Here, bang, you should be dead, your guts are hanging out, but you're still walking around, still talking. And
I typically don't like to do rant videos, but I respect these young guys that have been fighting for us for 2 decades. I don't care if they play with an Xbox or they watched a video game. All we've got is a group of people that did what they were told, they came when they were called, and they fought the best they could. These programs that want to degrade them and make them look like buffoons is unacceptable to me. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. For my current subscribers, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching.